Okay, Nick and I just got our official badges, and what are we doing now, Nick?
We are walking to our first location in the actual conference.
Hey, Threshold listeners, that's producer Nick Mott and me, Amy Martin, entering the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland, earlier today.
So we're inside, and it feels super exciting to be in the conference. We're officially official.
We're officially official. We're heading, right now it's like a tunnel of tent, and there's everybody's walking the same direction, and most people are dressed quite nice. It's like being in a giant mall, sort of, or like an airport terminal.
Food court. Giant food court, but with heads of state presumably everywhere.
As you can tell, we're really excited to be here at COP26, the 26th time leaders from around the world have gathered to try to solve humanity's biggest and most complicated problem, the damage we're doing to Earth's climate. The whole Threshold team is here for the next 2 weeks to cover what's happening at the conference. This is all part of our reporting for Season 4 of Threshold, which will be coming out in a few months. We don't want to give away everything about that quite yet, but while we're here at such an important international event, we're going to send you some updates here on the podcast feed and on our social media channels about what's happening, what we're learning, and who we're talking to. Right now, as I record this, I'm in a part of the conference designated for the press. There are reporters all around me doing exactly what Nick and I are doing, staring intently into computer screens and putting together stories. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to try to bring you behind the scenes here a little bit, pull back the curtain on this giant gathering that we've all heard about, but most of us don't really understand very well. And we'll bring you some voices of people from around the world who have come here to try to make progress on climate. One of them is Dr. Salim Al-Hook, the director of the International Center for Climate Change and Development in Bangladesh. I interviewed Salim remotely several months ago, and today I caught up with him at the conference and asked him what he thought was possible at COP26.
Well, the best possible outcome has traditionally always been an incremental progress, and we have taken pride in having made some progress. But unfortunately, this is not something that we compare ourselves with where we were last year, and we did a little bit more this year. We have to compare ourselves with the climate. The climate has a say, and the climate is telling us we're not doing enough.
Salim is one of the few people who has been to every single climate change conference since they began. In Bangladesh, where he lives, the impacts of climate change have been felt for decades. But Salim says that means Bangladeshis have a lot to offer as other countries wake up to the realities of climate chaos.
Well, Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable countries to the impacts of climate change. We've known this for a long time. This is not news for us. We're tackling it. We're dealing with it. In fact, I would argue Bangladesh is probably one of the most adaptive countries, becoming resilient to the impacts of climate change. We can't avoid them from happening, but we can prepare for them much better than any other country in the world, and other countries can learn from us.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time right now, but what do you think people should really be trying to pay attention to or advocating for at home?
Well, I think the main message for today is that there's going to be a whole bunch of heads of government, including the US president here. They'll make speeches, they'll have a photograph with Boris Johnson, and they'll fly away. Much of the global media will fly away with them and think that it's over. It isn't, it's just starting. It's going to start day after tomorrow when they've gone, and it's going to last for 2 weeks. Journalists and their audiences need to be educated on the complicated stuff that climate change is. And it's not just a photo op whether President Xi and Putin came or didn't come. Immaterial. The Russian government is here, the Chinese government is here, they've been here for the last week, they will be here for the next 2 weeks. They'll negotiate to the end. Whether their head of government comes for a photograph with Boris Johnson does not matter at all. But media will think that that's what matters. We need to educate both the media and their audiences about climate change, which is a complicated subject, but it affects everybody. So everybody's going to have to go up a learning curve.
And that's why I want to follow you around this next couple of weeks as much as that you'll let me. So
Sure. You're most welcome to do that. We'll try and get you in wherever we can.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We decided to come to Glasgow exactly because of what Salim just said. We need to get educated about what happens at these global conferences, and we want to help you learn too. That'll be happening through short, in-the-moment updates like this, and later through the season itself. These reports from Glasgow are kind of like the appetizer for the bigger meal that's coming in early 2022. We've never done something like this before. We're experimenting, and we'd love to know what you think. We'd also love your support. Doing our in-depth, on-the-ground reporting takes resources, time, money, and effort. Our annual fund drive is happening right now, and if you're able to contribute, your gift will be doubled. To donate, go to thresholdpodcast.org. Thanks, and see you soon.